Welcome back everybody to more of the Fruit of Grisaia. Here we are on Sakaki's route. She recounts her past and troubles with her parents because she was not born a man, so she could not inherit the company. And it's just been causing a lot of stress. Her mother's been in the hospital, her dad's basically ignored her whole life, so it's really depressing. My mother had never said anything like that before. No doubt the thought had crossed her mind, but so long as she had even a shred of rationality remaining, the words could never have passed her lips. After all, if she were to say that, then nothing could ever change, except to fall apart. Something slipped out of my hands and clattered to the floor. A visitor from the company had dropped off a few jelly desserts. I had been taking one from the shelf with a spoon. My mother had been skipping her meals lately, but I thought she might at least manage to eat that. Considering the season, a white peach jelly seemed appropriate. Maybe it would be easier for her to hold a spoon with a flat handle. Moments before, those were the only thoughts in my mind. They were gone now. Obliterated by my mother's words so completely that it was as if they had never existed. I ran as fast as I could, pushing my heart so hard I thought it might just sputter to a stop. Down the slope in front of the hospital, up again, onto a large curving detour, past the station, around the corner from a small cleaning store, into the remains of an abandoned factory. Only then, absolute confident that I was alone, did I finally come to a halt. Gasping for air, I doubled over and held my trembling legs with both hands, propping up a body that seemed ready to collapse. The world flickered before my oxygen-starved eyes. My peripheral vision was dim and clouded, as though I was peering out from inside a tunnel. I could feel sweat pouring out from all over my body. My hair and clothes were completely disheveled. I'd fallen at some point on the way over. There was scrapes on my knees and elbow. I pushed myself to wreck. A tattered mess of a girl. But I couldn't have cared less about any of that. After all, the tears streaming uncontrollably down my face were far more blatantly pathetic than my beat-up clothing. I could have endured it if she complained about something I could fix. I could have behaved better. There was still room for my grades to improve. I could have made myself more presentable. I could have cut every strand of my hair to the exact same length. I could have learned to walk in a refined way at an absolute steady pace. But no matter what, I was powerless to undo the reality of my own birth. Why did she have to choose the one thing I could never ever change? My grandparents were right back then. If it was possible, she should have just tried again. She could have crushed that egg in the womb and pretended it never happened. Better than this hopelessness, this irreparably broken life. Placing my hands against my breasts, I pushed down with all of my strength. How could a thing so totally beyond my control bring me such misery? I felt a dull, throbbing pain deep inside my chest. The painful pressure was accompanied by a slight twinge of stimulation. Even as I rejected it, my body reminded me that I was female. There was pain, but at the same time I could feel the blood throughout my body beginning to stir in an unfamiliar way. Instinctively, I knew that it was something sexual, and I shivered with pure loathing. I hated my body. I hated the woman it was becoming. I didn't ask for that misery. I had no say in my crime. It was born with me. But so long as I lived, the pain would always be lurking somewhere deep inside me. If only you had been a boy. With one phrase, anyone could reduce me to nothing. I could study all I wanted. I could be the sweetest, most well-behaved person in the world. But so long as I stayed in that body, my naked vulnerability would never go away. I threw open my bag and took out my pencil box. Flipping open the lid, I retrieved the box cutter I used as a makeshift sharpener for my colored pencils. I wonder when exactly I began to find the act of cutting things apart pleasant. The clicking of the blade emerging from its sheath, the sound of something once whole being severed apart, those had become calming sounds to me. How wonderful would it be if I could slice away my femininity with a single box cutter? How wonderful would it be if I could sever my fate with the touch of a blade? How wonderful would it be if one movement of my hand could cut me free of all the troubles that coiled around me and choked the air from my lungs? As I cut savagely through the long, identical bundles of black, such thoughts ran through my head one after another. On the boiling concrete, speckled with the remnants of faded paint, clumps of black hair that gathered. They fell like a vile rain until the sun-heated ground was covered in them. I could feel the gloom in my heart fading as I looked down into the darkness. But in its place, that dirty blackness left a layer of filth inside me that could never be cleaned away.
バーカ、マジ違えってそれ。嘘つけ、それお前は。おい、見ろよあれ。あ、なんだ？って、何あの髪型。男みてえだよな。
切っちゃったのかな、自分で。かな。でもなんで？
あいつんちまた金なくなったんじゃないの？
まさか散髪代ぐらい出るだろそれ。
だよね。
When I showed up for school with a hairstyle more appropriate for a boy, my classmates' reaction was exactly what I'd expected. They made no effort to hide their amusement. I'd gotten that far uneventfully, not giving them much to work with, so perhaps there was a bit of a recoil effect. Whatever the case, my rough bob cut became an easy target for mockery and speculation. Of course, there wasn't a single person who showed any real concern for me. My grandmother was simply lost for words at first. Not that the aghast expression on her face meant she was worried about me, oh no.
そんなみっともないことはこれっきりにしてちょうだい。わかりましたね。
The one and only thing she was concerned about was how poorly my actions would appear in the eyes of society.
はい。ごめんなさい。
まったく恥ずかしい。
My grandmother, muttering about shame and humiliation, averted her eyes and disappeared inside the house. And for a very long time I was sat alone in my room, utterly silent except for the voices of the cicadas.
由美子嬢ちゃん、どうなさったんですか、その髪。ごめんなさい。嬢ちゃんは何も悪くないのに、おかわいそうに。
Toshi-san was the only person who showed genuine concern for me. But it didn't make me feel any better to know I'd made that kind of old woman worry. More than anything else, her sorrowful face made me regret my rashness. I'd gotten carried away by my emotions and lashed out, but nothing had changed. Nothing was going to change. For the sake of the one or two people who acknowledged my existence, I decided not to repeat my mistake. Toshi-san's death came soon thereafter. As the record-setting heatwave stretched on, the news was constantly occupied with stories of elderly people succumbing to heat stroke. And one day our neighbor, already past her 70th year, was among them.
すみませんが、お帰りいただけませんか。そんな、せめてお焼香だけでも。由美子さん、あなたも知ってるでしょう。母が倒れた原因を。それはお給金が出るわけでもないのに、ねぎらいの言葉すらかけてもらえず、 川本の家のために働き続けて。
申し訳ないと思っています。だから。
だったらもううちとは関わらないでください。もう川本の家とは一切の関係をなくしたいんです。地元でも変な噂が立ってますし。
おい早苗、それぐらいにしておきなさい。
はい、わかりました。それじゃこれで。
お礼だけでも言いたかった。
Your world is supposed to grow larger as you grow up. Mine seemed only to be shrinking even smaller. I lost Toshi-san, and with her, the small place of refuge in front of our door vanished as well. Just as I was on the verge of giving up, finally, at long last, a small ray of light broke through the wall of dark clouds.
お母さん、具合いいみたいね。
My mother was eating a mandarin orange served as a treat after her meal. Her expression was placid as always.
今日はなんだか体も軽く感じるわ。
But for once, it didn't look like a mask she'd plastered on her face. The peace in her eyes seemed real, something that had flowed naturally to the surface from deep inside of her. Our retreat to the quiet of the countryside hadn't done much at first. If anything, our family tensions had probably taken a toll on my mother, but after many years of peace, it seemed her mind was slowly beginning to regain its equilibrium. The recent downturn had given way to weeks of steady improvement. And once you can meet your own needs, it becomes possible to worry about the needs of others. My mother had begun to give me my questions real responses for the first time in years.
お医者さんもいい兆しだっておっしゃってたし、来週からはお薬も減らしていくっていうことだったから、それで。
We'd never been able to discuss her treatment, but lately it had become a safe topic of conversation. Specifically, her progress was so promising that a discharge from the hospital was coming into view at long last.
来週の月曜日、おばあちゃんと一緒に先生にお話を聞くから、そこでいろいろと今後のことも聞いてくるわね。あと、
由美子。
何？お母さん。
由美子。ね。ごめんね。お母さん、ひどいこと言って。あなたにこれだけしてもらっておいて、私、男の子の方がいいとか。
お母さん、いいから、ほら、みかん食べたから手が汚れてる。はい、ティッシュ。食べた皮片付けるわね。
ありがとう。
いいのよ。お母さんは直すことに専念してくれればいいから。私、そろそろ戻るね。また明日来るから。
そう？ゆっくりしていけばいいのに。
It's nice that her mother's finally becoming more accepting of her daughter.
また明日来るから。
I stood up and waved goodbye with a quavery smile. My mother was still sitting in profile, but I could tell she was smiling in return. Holding that image in my mind, I slipped quietly out of the room. The moment I closed the door behind me, the world began to shimmer through the walls of tears.
お母さん、よかった。
I couldn't remember the last time my mother had shown that kind of concern for me. I don't know if she ever had. But the standard of a healthy parent-child relationship, I guess it was an insignificantly small thing. But for me, at the moment, those tentative words of compassion were enough to inspire overwhelming happiness. Happiness so strong that I couldn't help break down and sob.
よくなる。よくなってる。
I spoke the words again and again as if to fix that fact more firmly in reality. Perhaps Toshi-san had taken pity on me and stopped by to heal my mother on her way to heaven. Things were suddenly moving in such a positive direction that such thoughts seemed almost plausible. The next week, my grandmother and I went to meet with Mom's physician for an update on her condition. Normally, I was the only one who attended those meetings, but the progress was significant enough that he asked for Grandma to come in as well.
美佐子さんは間違いなく解放に向かっています。
Flipping through the papers in his hand, he gave us a detailed account of my mother's symptoms and current status. Not that I really need to hear any of that. I already knew she was recovering. For someone who'd visited her every single day for years, it was impossible to miss the transformation.
それで、もう娘は大丈夫なんでしょうか?
Once the doctor's explanation came to an end, my grandmother leaned forward, clinging to his arm as she spoke.
治療も順調に進んでおりますし、このまま退院の準備を始めてもいいでしょう。
The moment those words left his mouth, my grandmother lowered her head so deeply I thought she might topple out of her chair and prostrate herself on the floor.
ありがとうございます。ありがとうございます、先生。
やめてください。頭をお上げになってください。
これで榊さんの家にも申し訳が立ちます。ありがとうございます。
Grandma continued to lavish her thanks on the doctor, as always, doing her best to pretend that I wasn't even in the room. Mom's return to her husband would ensure that the Kawamoto business would continue receiving support from the Sakaki family. It was blatantly obvious from my grandmother's words that it was the sole reason for her gratitude. To the woman who brought her into this world, my mother was nothing but a defective political tool. But that only strengthened my determination to take care of her. Once the doctor's explanation was over, my grandmother went straight home without even stopping by to see her daughter's face. I heard her muttering the names of business partners to herself as she went. She was probably planning to hurry back to the house and inform them of the news. Then again, I wasn't exactly eager to have her visit my mother with that sort of an attitude, so if anything, her quick departure was convenient.
お母さん、来週退院が決まったわ。
Dropping a pile of magazines and books onto the shelf as usual, I spoke to my mother in a tone of sincere cheerfulness.
そう。じゃあ、おばあちゃんやおじいちゃんに迷惑をかけることもなくなるのね。うん。何より、こうやって由美子に来てもらわなくても大丈夫になるから、それが一番安心ね。
お母さん。
私、由美子にこうして負担をかけてるのが本当に申し訳なかったから。
My mother spoke those words with real remorse in her voice. But at that moment, the burden didn't seem so heavy. My mother's feelings were more than enough compensation.
カーテン、開けてもらえるかしら。
Just as requested, I pulled back the curtains from the window at Mom's side. A vault of blue stretched out beyond the panes of glass. It was the very picture of a summer sky. Compared to the heart of the city where Sakaki House stood, the blue in that place seemed far more pure and vivid.
今日もいい天気ね。ここを出るときには一度屋上に上がって空を見てみたいわ。
Toshi-san told me once that my mother had always enjoyed gazing at the sky. She didn't look for anything in particular, just tilted her head back and watched. And when people asked her why, she could never really find an answer. Memories from the day we first came to the town flashed into my mind. We walked hand in hand under a beautiful blue sky, but Mother's dull, lifeless eyes had never left the path below our feet. But she had finally remembered the sky. That could only mean she was on her way to recovery.
そうだね。ここを出るときには一緒に空を見ようね。
そうね。
It occurred to me that I didn't have a single memory of the two of us doing something like that together. I found myself very much looking forward to the small event that would accompany my mother's discharge from the hospital. Everything was moving in a positive direction. But if I know this game, things that go up must come down. The stupidly optimistic scenario I had sketched out in my imagination was coming closer and closer to reality. My mother's recovery produced clear changes in my own emotions. I had barely spoken to anyone in the week since Toshi-san's death, but I was slowly beginning to communicate with those around me. My grandparents still kept their distance, but if I approached them myself using my mother as a pretext, I could at least get them to have a conversation with me. Mom's recovery was their primary objective, after all. They couldn't avoid hearing me out if I brought it up. Watching my grandparents interact with me, despite obvious reluctance, I felt as though I had achieved a small but significant rebellion against the people who'd spent years ignoring my very existence. I'm right here. I'm in an important position, more than anything else. That sense of meaning gave me strength. In school, the others still rejected my very existence, but that didn't bother me much anymore. I would be returning to the Sakaki house once my mother recovered. This hollow school life would be over soon enough. The end was in sight. That suffocating feeling of entrapment was gone. No matter what they said about me, no matter how they laughed, it rolled off me harmlessly. Three days before my mother was scheduled to leave the hospital, I was hurrying to school through the rain. The drizzle that had become a little after midnight was just picking up into steady heavy rain as I left the house. My umbrella wasn't enough to catch it all. Pausing for a moment, I glanced up at the angry sky beyond the edge of my umbrella. It was covered in deep black clouds from horizon to horizon, without so much as a patch of clear sky in between. Since our conversation the other day, Mom had begun to spend a lot of time looking out the window. That was nice enough when the weather was clear, but staring up at a menacing sky like that might inspire a bit of gloominess, just as her feelings were finally starting to take an upward swing. I'd have to hurry to the hospital and cheer Mom up as soon as school was over. With that thought, I began to walk again. And just as I reached the intersection between the road to the school and the main street leading to the station, a familiar face appeared from around the corner.
どうもどうも。由美子ちゃん、久しぶりだね。元気してた？
But it wasn't the face I was eager to see. I instantly recognized the tabloid reporter who had once wheedled me into becoming a source for an article that mixed fragments of truth with innuendo and lies. Standing under a large jet black umbrella that seemed to mirror the rain clouds above, he looked me over with a faint smile on his face.
いやー、しばらく見ないうちに可愛くなったね。お母さん譲りかな？それともお父さんに似たのかな？
His words seemed to have grown even greasier and more presumptuous than before. When I walked past him silently, the reporter fell easily in beside me, keeping pace as though I had invited him to follow.
ちょっと聞きたいことがあってね。またここに来るようになったんだけど、そこの喫茶店で話とか聞かせてくれないかな？
以前にも言いましたよね。私はあなたにお話しするようなことは一切ありません。
そんな、君のお父さんのことじゃないか。話すことなんかたくさんあると思うんだけどな。
ありません。父とはもう何年も会っていないんです。
It was incredibly unpleasant to have this man bring up that topic now. The Sakaki house was the invisible mass around which we all orbited. I knew my current lifestyle was possible only because of his financial support. But sometimes I couldn't help feeling a powerful burst of resentment toward the father I barely knew. In particular, when people carelessly assumed we must have some kind of relationship.
もういいですから、付きまとわないでください。変な噂を立てられるので。
Stopping briefly, I spat out the clearest possible rejection, then quickly turned around to leave. I couldn't allow trouble of the sort to arise so soon before Mom was ready to leave the hospital. There was no telling how speaking to this man for even the briefest of moments might come back to haunt me.
本当にそうなのかな？
The reporter, no longer trying to follow, called out to me from behind. His words were suggestive, his tone unusually serious. I came to a halt despite myself.
だから、何なんですか、一体。
Rationally, I understand. It would have been the same either way. I know that it wasn't the cause of what would follow. But still, somewhere deep down inside, I can't help believing everything would have been different if I only had walked away.
そうもいかないんだよ。 だっ
What?
てこの話君に弟ができたってことなんだからね。